The creative process is the ability to create or produce with originality one's ideas or imagination.
It's a particular madness all creatives have to go through in order to transform an idea that was once in their head into an actual physical form. On this channel, I have a series called Playing with Fire, where I get inspired by something another creative has done, and I try and recreate it with my own twist in order to learn something new. I'll attempt to explain this chaotic process, going through all 7 stages, all while trying to imitate Wes Anderson's very unique filmmaking style.
Today's episode of Playing with Fire is inspired by Wes Anderson. Let's get started. Hi, I'm super excited for this video. I had this idea over a month ago now, because I've been working on it for literally a month, I think. Before I even get started, I think it's important for me to just clarify, like with all these videos, I'm just doing my best. It's not perfect, but it was my best attempt with the resources that I have. We're in quarantine, so literally my parents helped me film this, and my brother, and that was an interesting process. I'm so excited that I'm finally done with this video because I'm really proud of it. I'm gonna show the little segment thing at the end that is gonna be like, it's kind of a skit. It was shot in a Wes Anderson-y style. Before I show you the final product at the end, I quickly want to walk through some of my process on how I made this video, what specific Wes Anderson style elements I implemented, what I learned, what I wish I would have done better. But I got my list here. We're gonna go through it, and it starts off with coming up with this idea. I have a lot of work to do. I've been trying to figure out where I was gonna go with this video for a very, very long time. I've been doing a lot of research because previous to having this idea, I've never watched a Wes Anderson film in my life. I had heard that he was a very stylist. He had a very specific style. And as soon as I started looking into it, I was like, yes, this is gonna be amazing, but I have a lot of research to do. I've just came up with the idea to make this video about the creative process. I still don't know how this can happen. I think it's ironic that this video that is about the creative process, I'm gonna be documenting the creative process for its creation. That kind of hurts my brain a little bit. Since I am the only one who would be in this actual skit, I wanted to just have a narrator so I didn't really have to worry about different characters and stuff. I just wanted it to be me because, again, quarantine, we gotta keep things simple. Basically, I just kind of wrote the script. Like, I wrote the narrator's dialogue, and I decided to actually write it like a real movie script. And you might be like, why? Honestly, I don't really know. My computer is dying over there. I don't know if you can hear that. This was my shot list. Do you see how unorganized this is? Okay, it's bad. I was trying to shoot and I knew I was gonna miss stuff and it was bad. I didn't even know what I was really wanted or whatever. I was a mess. So what I've decided to do is make a shot list. So first I went through and I divided it by scene, and then I went into a Excel spreadsheet, which are my least favorite things on the entire planet. And I went through, I just wrote down all the scene numbers. Here, I'll show you guys real quick what I did. So at the top it says the scene, shot name, location, camera angle, camera move, if it's inside or outside, the audio, props, and notes. So basically I just went through my entire script, scene by scene, and I wrote down like what shots I was gonna put, and I labeled them appropriately, and I put the location. So my first spreadsheet looks like this. So there's a lot of like colors because that's the different locations, and I basically just transferred all that information over onto this one, which is separated by location, because I don't know, I feel like that's the easiest way to be more efficient and like not have to be running around everywhere and setting things up multiple times in different locations. I feel like this stage was definitely the longest part of making this video, just because it took a lot of research to actually nail down what I wanted to do, coming up with the idea for the little skit portion, and then finally learning how to write a script. Learning how to make a shot list took me a little while because it was the first time that I was doing it. I'm kind of happy I did that though, because now I know how to do it, so that's a good skill to have learned, right? That's it for pre-production. Now it comes to shooting. So for shooting, it was pretty simple. I just kind of went down the list. I had my mom help me. She was awesome and very patient because, you know, a lot of Wes Anderson's movements, camera movements are very like sharp. The whip pans that we were doing where it was like that took a little bit of work to learn how to do to keep me centered in frame. I had to reshoot a couple times because I would forget something, or you know, I'd be putting it into the actual timeline and there'd be a hole and I'd be like, I need more footage. What am I gonna do? Blue. He's the best actor I could hope for.
And with that being said, I thought that was a bug. This stage is similar to stage... You can't yell! Last grip. It's flying away.
Okay, after all of that, we come to post-production. This step was probably the fastest and most straightforward because it's just a matter of putting everything in the timeline and stitching it all together, and that's kind of what I love the most. So, hi, it's kind of late. I'm currently literally editing right now, and I just want to go over some of the things I've been doing while editing my process. It's been really great because everything's just by scene. I kind of just plop it into the sequence and it's pretty straightforward from there. I've been using this like rule of thirds grid over all my footage so that I can make sure that it's centered and symmetrical because that's important. When it comes to color grading, I actually made a custom preset that makes everything a little bit like saturated orange / yellow because a lot of Wes Anderson's movies have a very distinct color palette. Oh, before I even got started editing, I recorded a voiceover so that I could just kind of follow everything and it was a lot easier to put into place. For the music, I went on Epidemic Sound, which is where I get all my music, and I kind of searched for songs that had like folk or acoustic vibes to them. I also asked my friend Romina, who is a huge Wes Anderson fan, for help, and she sent me a bunch of songs that I could use, which was really helpful. There's a couple things I wish I would have done better or just included in general. The first one is a slow-mo scene. I'm just warning you now for all the Wes Anderson stans in the comments. It's not there, and I know it's not there. I mean, I could go on forever. Like, there's always gonna be things that I look back on this and like, I wish I'd done that better. I wish that was smoother, quicker, more centered, but you know, I'm proud of it. It took quite a while and I learned a lot from this process, so I'm gonna stop talking and play the little skit I made that is inspired by Wes Anderson. So yeah, I hope you guys like it. I would compare the creative process to riding a roller coaster. It's full of ups and downs and never goes in a straight line. It can be broken down into 7 parts, each representing a unique stage that every creative person is bound to experience whenever they make something new. Stage 1. Coming up with the idea. This is probably the most exciting stage of the entire process. It's not every day that one comes up with an amazing idea that invigorates you so much that you are just so excited to get started. Some of the byproducts of this stage may be excitedly telling those around you about this amazing idea that you've had, or daydreaming about the final outcome and mulling over small details that you want to include.
But with these initial butterflies out of the way, it's time to move on and actually bring this idea to life. And in order to do that, you need to do your homework.
And that leads us to stage 2, research. As creatives, sometimes we just want to get our hands dirty, get started, get this idea that's in our head down onto a real piece of paper. But in order to not waste your time, it's important to first do your research. There's a multitude of reasons as to why this step is crucial. This process may take days, weeks, or even months, depending on what it is that you're making, and often can be quite tedious.
However, once you've done your due diligence, it's a lot easier for the rest of the process to follow naturally and create something truly remarkable.
But you're likely to fall into stage 3, the self-doubt slump. This stage of inevitable self-sabotage is something we all experience along the way. It's unique in a sense that it can possibly reoccur multiple times throughout the creative process in a very non-predictable manner and bring up new speed bumps that we as artists must overcome every once in a while. At this point, you may be feeling overwhelmed, things aren't turning out how you wanted them to, and you're feeling a little defeated. If you're experiencing these symptoms, my recommendation to you is to take a step back from your work, make a cup of tea, realize that this is a normal part of the process, and carry on.
The key to getting through one of these stages is to simply realize that you're being ridiculous, you're getting in your own way, and you just need to shut up and keep going. And with that being said, you are ready for stage 4.
The creative breakthrough. So you've been working on this project for a while now, and finally you're starting to get a hang of things.
All those problems you were worrying about before don't really seem to be as big of a deal as they once were, or at least they've moved to the back of your mind for the time being. But that's all too good to be true, and often this stage doesn't last for more than 5 minutes at a time before we're thrown back into stage 3, or if you're lucky, stage 5, fear of failure. Stage 5 is similar to stage 3 in the sense that it's mostly clouded by worries that are made up in our own heads. Stage 5 is particular because instead of being worried about technical problems, we're more worried about whether this idea is actually going to work or not. All this effort as artists to make something that will have an impact simply left unseen and forgotten. Yeah, it's not a fun stage to be in. Stage 6. Blind confidence. After that bleak realization, it's important to realize that one's failure may be another's success. Or at least that's what I tell myself sometimes. Our project is almost complete, and even though it's not perfect by any means, if you don't stop now, you probably never will. You realize that it doesn't matter what others think of your art, that you made this for yourself, and you don't care about the outcome or how it's received. You're a creative, an artist, and you do this because you love it. So why is it so difficult to press that button? It's done, published, released for the world to watch and judge, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. There's a certain excitement, though, that follows finally publishing whatever it is you've been working on that literally cannot be recreated by any other means besides going through this process. But now, after a couple days of sitting back and reflecting on what it is you've created, there's nothing left to do but to start the cycle again. And that's the chaotic beauty of the creative process.